Hey everyone, it's Chris here with Zone Zero California, and I am in Cañada Flintridge near the intersection of Oak Grove and Foothill Boulevard. Now before we get into the video, I do want to remind you all that we are giving away a free pedestrian gate. Now to enter to win, first of all you got to subscribe, and second of all, go to zonezerocalifornia.com, fill out the form there to download your free PDF Zone Zero checklist guide. Alright, so we are in Cañada Flintridge. We're going around making this series of videos, taking you, the viewers, into these very high fire hazard severity zones, showing you just where they are and what they look like, and the communities and the businesses that are affected by these regulations. Now, of course, why are these fire hazard severity zones so important? Well, mainly because of the new Zone Zero regulations. And what does that mean? Everyone living inside of these very high fire hazard severity zones must comply with the new Zone Zero regulations within the next 2 to 3 years. So what does that look like? Well, Zone Zero is the 0 to 5 feet around your home, your property, or your structure. And it has to do with the building materials and landscaping in that area. So for the most part, what you're going to need to do is either your new build will have to be all Class A non-combustible materials, or your existing home, property, or structure will need to incorporate Class A non-combustible materials over the next 2 to 3 years. So let's start with landscaping. That's like the best and easiest and most controversial example. Think about it, right? You might have a tree right next to your home and it provides shade. That shade helps you save money on cooling costs, on power consumption. Well, according to Zone Zero, you may need to remove that tree. Now, the final draft has not been issued, and we do expect the state to put forth more broad guidelines, and then the counties and cities and local jurisdictions will then implement more specific rules of their own to accommodate and essentially, customize the rules according to like the needs and the demands of the community. Because quite frankly, through this regulatory process, I think the biggest source of pushback, especially in Southern California and Los Angeles, has been against this landscaping issue because of how much these trees do provide shade, right? It's not just like a beauty or a lifestyle thing. It is literal shade, which is a health concern, a safety concern. I've seen studies that show shade from trees in Southern California can lower the effective temperature by 50 degrees. And so if you have an older home with no central air, you might rely heavily upon the natural shade provided by the trees around your property. So not only that, right, who's gonna bear the financial burden of removing those trees? You, the homeowner, you, the property manager. So that's been the most controversial. Of course, Zone Zero stems from earlier guidelines that dictated a Zone 1 and a Zone 2 when it came to that defensible space for fire hardening, right? Zone 1 was originally 0 to 30 feet, and the saying there was lean, clean, and green. So as you can imagine, not having a bunch of excess things to keep it lean in your yard, right? Keep it clean so you don't let dry leaves accumulate and then create all of these patches of combustible material everywhere. And then keep it green means if you're gonna have grass, you keep it watered. Now, California's been through droughts, all kinds of stuff, right? So, well, regardless, right? I mean, so that's already, think about that with with those old regulations. Well, now we have Zone Zero. So Zone Zero, 0 to 5 feet, the focus on the 0 to 5 feet. Why? Because what scientists have found is that the most widespread damage caused by fires is not by walls of flames or even radiant heat, but fire embers picking up into the wind and blowing and landing on properties sometimes miles away. All right, and so if you have combustible material in your yard, you have old dry leaves on your roof, when those embers fall and land, especially in these big fire events with high winds, it can start a big fire very fast, and now the fire damage is spread to your property, and your ability to contain it is probably diminished or eliminated. And so that's where the Zone Zero stuff comes from. So, what else does it include besides the landscaping? Obviously, old wood fences and gates. And of course, that's why we're offering to give away a free pedestrian gate. Now, again, to enter, just subscribe to the channel and then go to zonezerocalifornia.com, fill out the form and download your free Zone Zero PDF checklist, okay? And we're gonna give away a gate every 500 subscribers. So we're gonna give away our first gate at 500, our second gate at 1,000, and on and on and on. So there's still a chance for everyone to be eligible. Just make sure you're subscribed. So regardless, right, your old wood fences and gates will need to be removed or replaced. Now, when it comes to wood in particular, it's probably most likely redwood and cedar that will no longer be allowed in Zone Zero. But hardwoods, the kinds of woods usually associated with decking, are approved. In fact, I know for a fact Kayu Batu is one hardwood approved by CAL FIRE themselves for building use. And the good news about that particular hardwood is it's very economical in price when compared to other things like ipe or tiger wood or some of these other more exotic hardwoods. So it can be used for fences and gates, and of course I just mentioned decking, and decking is another one of those things that falls within Zone Zero. So if you have a redwood deck or a cedar deck, you might need to replace that with, again, your hardwood or even things like composite material such as Trex or TimberTech, and also railings, right? So you might have a deck and it has, you might have a balcony and it's got wood railings, and if those are made of redwood or cedar, chances are you might need to replace that. I was in Hollywood. There was an apartment building and all of the patios in that apartment building had redwood railings. Again, you might need to replace that with something like a metal or with an approved hardwood. So aside from the landscaping, the fences, the gates, and the decks, what's next? Well, siding. Now, siding is going to be very period sensitive. I've been doing these videos. You notice I got a lot of videos on the channel so far driving around Los Angeles. A lot of these neighborhoods have craftsman style homes from a certain period. Those all still have wood siding. Now, I have noticed a lot of craftsman homes that already had their siding redone with stucco. Now, you do lose that architectural period style. But if you're in a very high fire hazard severity zone, depending on how these rules and regulations move forward, you may not have a choice. And so other period homes from mid-century also seem to have a particular wood siding style, a vertical style. Again, that may need to be replaced. And of course, siding is much more of a larger undertaking than something like a fence or a gate or your landscaping or even a deck. So, you know, I have a link to our school community. I've compiled links to resources there, including grants. There are a lot of grants available for financial assistance to help you, you know, through this process. So make sure you join our community there. And of course, you want to feel free to vent and get things off your chest. You can do that in the comments here. You can do it in our school community. You can do it in our Reddit community. People will learn from your stories. You'll feel a sense of relief from sharing and getting it off your chest, and people will learn. You know, maybe you've had experience dealing with insurance or dealing with other local or state regulatory agencies. So please feel free to share your stories. And of course, lastly, there is the roofing. Now, most roofing is already going to be flame retardant, fire resistant, non-combustible. But again, going back to that example earlier, if the dry leaves accumulate on your roof and you don't clean that off regularly, and then there's an ember storm from the next big wildfire, because we know it's a matter of when, not if, it's going to be when. If that lands on your roof and you haven't addressed it in time and the wind is high enough, it could get out of control very fast for you. So I'm going to leave it there. Now, what I usually do in these videos is, of course, drive around neighborhoods just for a few blocks to show you and point out the kinds of things, the areas of concern when it comes to these Zone Zero regulations. Our goal here is to raise awareness. We want to be prepared, not scared. All right, folks? So once again, my name's Chris. Go to zonezerocalifornia.com and we can put you in touch with local contractors in your area as well. So let's take a drive around La Cañada Flintridge and see what's going on over here. Thanks. All right, folks, we're back in the truck here. So I was at the Hahamunga Reservoir or Watershed Park at the intersection of Oak Grove and Foothill Boulevard. So right now, I'm gonna drive up Foothill Boulevard. Now we've got a high school, you know, oh, here's some homes here. We're gonna get into this neighborhood. I'm gonna turn into this neighborhood and we'll see what we find. Oh, already, look at the thing. First thing on the corner, a large old redwood fence right on the corner here. So you can see this fence going all the way around the home, not to mention all the landscaping, all these trees, right? Are those all going to need to be removed? Now, okay, technically, was that even in the 0 to 5 foot radius? Probably not, but it's close enough, right? So just kind of pointing out things to be aware of. Now, these are all old wood here. These white picket fences, that patio, that's all wood right there. Here's another wood gate between the house there. Wood driveway gate. I am seeing a lot of wrought iron. Now you notice these homes all have a setback too. They're all, oh, here we go. Here's another wood gate there in the driveway that goes right next to the home. So that's a zone 0. Okay, wood gate between the properties there. That's a zone 0 because of how close it was to the home. Let me put my seatbelt on here. We want to be safe. Now remember, I usually point out the map here, but the entire La Cañada Flintridge community is in a very high fire hazard severity zone. So if you live in La Cañada Flintridge, you are going to be subject to these zone 0 regulations. Yeah, some areas have, like, not the entire community, but the entire community of La Cañada Flintridge is. Okay, that is a wood gate next to the garage there. That was a wood gate next to the garage. Here you go. Here's another wood gate, driveway gate, and then on both sides, both of those houses, both of them have a wood fence and gate. Let's see. Here's another wood fence down the driveway there, and it definitely gets within 5 feet of that home. So let's just take a turn here. Again, I'm not doing this to single out anybody. I just want to raise awareness of how many homes and people this is going to affect. So right here, they have a wood structure around their patio there, and then all of that wood fence and gate over there between those two homes and in the backyard. That's vinyl. So that looks, oh, that's wood siding right there. That's wood siding. Here's a wood gate. This house has a wood fence between the two neighbors, going all the way back next to the detached garage. Now this is a steel frame, but that could be redwood in between, and that redwood might need to be replaced. And then again, here you go. Here's an old wood fence between these properties. That's an old wood fence there. Gate next to the home. Wood fence over here. It's covered by brush there. It's covered by landscaping. Here you go. Here's wood gate and fence next to this home. All right. This home over here. You see one side is wrought iron, the other side has wood. Again, steel frame, but it's got wood in between. I'm going to pull over so this car can pass me. And lo and behold, this house across the street has wood siding. Or maybe not. That could be hardy board, but it might be tongue and groove wood. Oh, and of course the house, there's a wood fence in between these two houses. And this might be, that also might be wood siding as well. You see what I mean by how it's like kind of period sensitive. It's like if it's a certain period. Now this might be a little bit more modernized, where that is actually hardy board siding. Oh, but this house has wood fence and gate. So as you can see, oh, I just saw another one. Listen, I've been just a couple blocks here in this one lit part of the neighborhood of La Cañada Flintridge, and I'm already been able to point out numerous wood fences and gates, as well as all the landscaping. Look at all this landscaping, right? Of course you have a wood fence there, but how about all these trees? Right? All these trees. All the landscaping in this whole neighborhood. Right? There's a wood fence back there. Wood fence and gate over here. More wood fence. So as you can see, like, that's just 1 or 2 blocks in La Cañada Flintridge. The entire community is in a fire hazard severity zone, which means the entire community is going to be subject to zone 0 regulation. So listen, if you live in La Cañada Flintridge, you're going to want some help getting zone 0 compliant, you're watching this video, visit us at zone0california.com, give me a call there, fill out the form. And of course, if you want a chance to win the giveaway here. We're giving away a color bond fence by Durabond that is an all steel construction and design made to withstand the heat of wildfires. It is definitely Class A, non-combustible, Zone 0 compliant. We're giving away a free gate every 500 subscribers on this channel. So if you want to win, just subscribe, go to zone0california.com and fill out the form to download your free Zone 0 Guide Checklist PDF. Okay guys, thanks. See you on the next one.